She stood at the edge of the traffic signal, barefoot on the cracked pavement, holding a small plastic box of candy that had melted slightly under the harsh afternoon sun, her hands trembling, not from weakness, but from the weight of surviving another day. Cars passed her like storms that never noticed quiet destruction they left behind. And in that moment, no one saw a dreamer, no one saw a fighter, no one saw a queen fallen into the dust of fate. They only saw a poor girl selling candy to survive. But fate was already moving, quietly, dangerously, toward a moment that would change everything. Before the story goes further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen miracles, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them the most. Her name had once meant something beautiful, whispered with pride by a mother who believed her daughter would rise beyond their broken circumstances. But life had not been gentle. Poverty wrapped itself around her early, squeezing dreams into silence. When her father disappeared and her mother's illness grew heavier than their hope, childhood slipped away quietly, replaced by responsibility. School became a luxury, laughter became rare, and survival became her daily prayer. Selling candy was not a choice born of ambition, but a necessity carved by hunger and fear. Each day she dressed carefully despite owning almost nothing. Her clothes were clean but worn, her hair tied neatly, her eyes holding a dignity that refused to die. She never begged. She stood straight, offering candy with patience, even when ignored, even when insulted. There was a quiet strength in the way she endured humiliation without letting it poison her heart. People mistook her silence for weakness, never knowing it was restraint. Across the city, in a world built of glass towers and guarded entrances, he lived a life many would call perfect. Wealth followed him like a shadow, success bowed to his name, and comfort wrapped him in luxury. Yet his nights were restless. He had climbed every ladder society praised, but somewhere along the way his soul felt hollow. He had seen beauty that glittered and affection that was purchased, but nothing felt real anymore. His heart longed for something he could not name. That afternoon, traffic slowed unexpectedly. His car stopped at the signal where she stood. He noticed her not because she was poor, but because she did not look broken. Something in her posture, in the calm defiance of her eyes, disturbed his carefully ordered world. She was surrounded by chaos, yet she carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had not surrendered. In that fleeting moment, he did not see a girl selling candy. He saw potential wrapped in pain. He saw grace surviving in the ruins. Time stretched strangely. The city noise faded, and something unspoken passed between them. Not romance, not pity, but recognition. He wondered how many times greatness had been dismissed simply because it wore the clothes of hardship. When the light changed and his car moved forward, something inside him resisted leaving. He carried her image with him long after she disappeared into the crowd. That night, sleep abandoned him. His mind returned to her eyes, not beautiful in the shallow way magazines defined beauty, but deep, honest, and unafraid. He realized how often the world crowned false queens while ignoring those who ruled quietly over suffering with dignity. He did not yet know her story, but he felt its weight pressing against his conscience. Meanwhile, she returned home to a single dim room where the smell of medicine mixed with dust. She counted her earnings carefully, already calculating what portion would go to food and what would go to her mother's care. There was no room for dreams tonight, only survival. Yet for reasons she could not explain, her heart felt restless, as if something unseen had brushed past her fate. Life continued as it always had, but invisible threads were tightening. The city believed it was indifferent, but fate had taken notice. Two worlds that should never touch had already collided in spirit, and neither of them understood yet that this was only the beginning of a transformation that would test pride, humility, love, and faith itself.
Days passed, but the memory refused to fade. He found himself searching for her at every traffic signal, every crowded street, unsure why his heart insisted on returning to a moment so brief. When he finally saw her again, smaller somehow against the vastness of the city, he felt a strange mix of sorrow and admiration. She was still there, standing under the sun, selling candy with the same quiet resilience, as if hope itself depended on her endurance. He began observing from a distance, learning without intruding. He noticed how she helped younger children cross the street, how she stepped aside to avoid blocking anyone, how she accepted rejection with grace. There was nobility in her struggle, and it unsettled him. He had inherited comfort, yet she had earned every breath she took. Slowly, the walls around his heart began to crack. He started questioning his own life choices. What was the point of wealth if it never touched another soul? What was the meaning of success if it blinded him to suffering happening inches away? For the first time, he felt ashamed of how easy everything had been. Yet this shame did not turn into guilt, it turned into resolve. Her challenges deepened as well. Her mother's condition worsened, medicine became more expensive, and the streets grew less forgiving. There were nights when exhaustion made her body ache so deeply that standing felt impossible. Still, she rose each morning, refusing to let despair define her. She believed, stubbornly, that dignity was something no one could take unless she surrendered it herself. When their paths finally crossed again more closely, it was not dramatic. There was no grand rescue, no sudden miracle. Instead, there was patience. He chose to see her as a human being first, not a project, not a charity case. He offered help in ways that preserved her pride, and she accepted cautiously, her instincts shaped by years of disappointment. Trust did not come easily, but sincerity has a sound the heart recognizes. He learned her story piece by piece, not through pity, but through understanding. Each detail struck him like a quiet revelation. The sacrifices she made, the dreams she buried, the strength she carried without applause. In her presence, he felt stripped of pretension. She reminded him of what mattered before ambition hardened his heart. For her, his presence was confusing. She had learned to expect nothing from life, and suddenly someone saw her without judgment. Fear followed hope closely, whispering that kindness never lasts. But something in his consistency softened her defenses. He did not try to own her story or rewrite it. He simply walked beside her. As time unfolded, their connection deepened into something neither had planned. It was not built on wealth or rescue fantasies, but on shared humanity. She inspired him to slow down, to listen, to feel. He inspired her to believe that her life was more than survival, that her dreams had not expired. The world, however, does not easily accept such unions. Whispers rose, people questioned motives, judged appearances, and mocked the idea that a girl selling candy could belong in a world of power. But love, when real, does not ask permission from society. It grows quietly, stubbornly, like a flower breaking through concrete. As challenges mounted, both were forced to confront their deepest fears. He feared losing his status. She feared losing her independence. Yet every test strengthened what they were building. What began as a moment at a traffic signal was turning into a journey of transformation for both of them. And just when it seemed they had found balance, life prepared its greatest test. The final storm arrived without warning. A crisis threatened everything they had built, exposing the fragile bridge between their worlds. Circumstances forced them to choose between comfort and courage, between appearances and truth.
For him, it meant standing against expectations that had defined him his entire life. For her, it meant believing she was worthy of a future beyond struggle. She faced the hardest moment alone, when fear nearly convinced her to step back into invisibility. The thought of being a burden haunted her. She questioned whether love was something meant for people like her. Yet in her darkest hour, she remembered every night she had survived without help, every morning she had chosen dignity over despair. She realized she had always been strong enough. Love did not give her value, it recognized it. He too was tested. Walking away would have been easy. Choosing silence would have preserved his comfort, but something had changed irreversibly within him. He could no longer unsee injustice, no longer pretend that wealth defined worth. He stood firm, not as a savior, but as a man who had finally learned what love demanded. Together they faced the storm, not dramatically, but honestly. The victory was not instant, and it was not perfect, but it was real. Her mother received care, her education resumed, and slowly the girl who once sold candy began reclaiming the dreams she had buried. Not because someone rescued her, but because someone believed in her without trying to control her. Time passed, and the city barely noticed the transformation. People still rushed through traffic signals, still judged by appearances. But sometimes power shifts quietly. Sometimes queens rise not through crowns, but through resilience. She never forgot where she came from, and he never forgot the moment that changed him. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows stories of quiet strength and real love to be told. And before the ending, we have one special request. Comment below where you're watching from and write one word that this story made you feel. Your words matter. In the end, she no longer stood at traffic signals selling candy. She walked forward with purpose, carrying her past not as shame, but as proof of her strength. And he walked beside her, humbled and transformed, knowing that the greatest fortune he had ever found was not built by money, but by seeing the queen hidden within a girl the world had ignored. Because sometimes the most powerful love stories are not about rescue at all. They are about recognition.